The Ravens' loss to the Patriots has left a lot of fans shaking their heads, and the discussion around Derrick Henry's absence on the final drives has only amplified the frustration. John Harbaugh's comments about the rotation have sparked a debate that's echoing across social media and sports talk shows, as people try to parse the reasoning behind not putting Henry back on the field in the most critical moments. Harbaugh admitted looking back he would have preferred Henry in the game, but emphasized the challenge of making that call in real time. He pointed out the conversation between Derrick Henry and offensive coordinator Willie Taggart, where they initially discussed starting the series with Cat and Mitchell. According to Harbaugh, the timing and communication of these rotations made it difficult to simply override the decision on the spot. Yet, the reality is that when the stakes are so high, with a playoff berth essentially on the line, fans, analysts, and former players alike feel the head coach has to step in decisively. In this case, putting Henry back on the field was an obvious move, one that could have altered the trajectory of the game. But it simply didn't happen. Cat and Mitchell did what he could, but he lacks the physical dominance and respect that Henry commands from opposing defenses. Teams are going to load up on Catton in those situations because they know he's less of a threat, and the Patriots clearly did that. The choice to leave Henry off the field, even for just a few plays, has been widely criticized because the presence of a star back like him forces defenses to adjust in ways that create opportunities for everyone else on offense. That principle was evident in the game when, on a key third down, the fake handoff to Catton led to a pass to Mark Andrews, who could not secure the first down. Had Henry been in the game, the entire defensive approach would have been different, and the play's outcome might have changed. It's a scenario that illustrates why fans and analysts alike were stunned, including former Ravens like Tony Dungy and Ronnie Harrison, who expressed disbelief at the decision. The reaction was universal across local and national media, reflecting the consensus that the Ravens mishandled a critical moment, something that has become a recurring frustration with the team's in-game decision-making. Harbaugh's response, while measured, only fuels the debate. He acknowledged the criticism and admitted that, looking back, he would have preferred to have Henry on the field, but he defended the idea that in real time, decisions are more complicated than they seem. The chain of command, the conversations between coordinators and players, and the fast-moving nature of the game all play into why the rotation was maintained as it was. Critics, however, argue that these moments define seasons, and when you have a player of Henry's caliber, the head coach must make the call that maximizes the team's chances of winning. It's a situation where delegating to the rotation system didn't work in the Ravens' favor. The analogy Tony Dungy made comparing this to basketball resonates. When Steph Curry is on fire, you don't bench him mid-hot streak, you ride the momentum. That philosophy wasn't applied here, and the consequences were immediate and costly. The Ravens had just executed a successful touchdown drive, and instead of maintaining the pressure with Henry on the field, they pulled him back, leaving a less dominant back to face a defense that can now focus solely on mitigating the remaining offensive threat. The strategic misstep has become a symbol of a larger trend within the team, where in-game adjustments and coaching decisions repeatedly fall short in clutch situations. It's not just a single instance, but a pattern that has followed John Harbaugh through his tenure in Baltimore. A pattern that continues to fuel questions about his leadership and decision-making when it matters most, even with regular season success. Moments like these illustrate why fans and analysts question whether the team can ever consistently translate that success into playoff victories. The lack of decisive action in the final drives against the Patriots has become a microcosm of broader issues with the team's approach to critical game management. Beyond the on-field decisions, there's also the looming question of Harbaugh's future with the Ravens. Media scrutiny has intensified, and there's a growing narrative that his tenure may be nearing its end, particularly if the team fails to make a deep playoff run. Harbaugh, however, maintains a measured perspective, emphasizing that coaching is a day-to-day job focused on preparing for the next opponent. Rather than obsessing over job security, he spoke about the support and competitive nature of owner Steve Bisciotti, noting that while Bisciotti challenges him, that challenge pushes Harbaugh to perform at a higher level. The relationship with the owner, while positive, does not diminish the fact that Harbaugh's decisions will ultimately define the team's trajectory and his own job security. If the Ravens fail to advance in the postseason or even fall short in the first round, questions about leadership, strategy, and the need for a new voice within the coaching staff will only intensify. There's recognition that Harbaugh has been a player's coach, particularly in managing relationships with Lamar Jackson and the locker room, but when the most important plays of a season hinge on precise, high-stakes decision-making, the tolerance for mistakes diminishes rapidly. Fans and commentators alike are examining the broader picture. The recurring themes of rotation mismanagement, questionable play calling, and inability to adjust effectively in critical moments. The narrative isn't just about a single game. It's about patterns that have emerged over years and how they impact the Ravens' ability to contend at the highest level. The Ravens' season has been a roller coaster, filled with dramatic highs and frustrating lows. Early losses painted the team as underperformers, and initial victories after their bye week offered hope, only to be followed by setbacks in crucial divisional matchups against Cincinnati and Pittsburgh. Individual performances, such as Daniel Fields drawing national scrutiny, added to the public narrative of inconsistency. While wins against the Bengals demonstrated the team's potential, however, the collapse against the Patriots, where a double-digit fourth-quarter lead evaporated, brought all these frustrations into sharp focus. Casting a spotlight on leadership and the coaching approach, the conversation around Derrick Henry, coupled with Harbaugh's public reflections, serves as a lens through which to examine these recurring challenges. While regular season success has often masked these deficiencies, the postseason, where execution, decisiveness, and the ability to maximize star talent truly matter, exposes the cracks. Fans, analysts, and former players have weighed in, pointing out that while Captain Mitchell has had a strong season, the team's most critical moments demand reliance on proven, dominant performers. Decisions like leaving Henry off the field illustrate why Baltimore has struggled to convert regular season potential into playoff success, a topic that continues to dominate discussions around the team's direction and Harbaugh's long-term future as head coach. As we look ahead, the questions surrounding the Ravens are only growing louder. And it's not just about the games that have been lost. It's about the identity of this team and whether they can truly capitalize on the talent they have when the stakes are highest. Lamar Jackson has been remarkable throughout the season, but even he can only do so much if the strategy around him falters in critical moments. His performance has kept Baltimore in contention on multiple occasions, yet the margin for error is thin, and any misstep in preparation, rotations, or play calling magnifies the pressure. Fans are rightfully frustrated because they see a team that has all the tools to be a contender, but continues to stumble at the most important times. The narrative of inconsistency is impossible to ignore, and much of it comes down to decisions that happen when the game is on the line. Every snap matters, every drive counts, and yet, when the opportunity to leverage a star running back rises, the hesitation or reliance on rotation protocols can cost games that define a season. This is a reality that has plagued the Ravens multiple times in the past, and the Patriots game was a glaring example of how small decisions can have massive consequences. There's also the question of personnel management and how the coaching staff handles roles and responsibilities. Eric DeCosta has certainly been influential in shaping the roster and has input into game day decisions, but the head coach is ultimately responsible for the choices on the field. Harbaugh's delegation style has worked in the past, but in today's NFL, there is less room for ambiguity or hesitation. The league is unforgiving when it comes to star players, and the teams that succeed in the postseason are the ones that make decisive, calculated moves at the right moment. Baltimore's approach has sometimes leaned too heavily on rotation principles or theoretical fairness, rather than maximizing the immediate advantage when a game comes down to a few critical plays. There is no room for theory, execution, clarity, and assertive leadership to define outcomes. And that's why the absence of Henry on the final drives against New England is still being dissected. It's not just a single play, it's a symptom of a broader strategic philosophy that has repeatedly placed the Ravens in difficult positions. Harbaugh's reflections about focusing on the day-to-day and preparing for the next opponent are admirable from a coaching philosophy perspective. But the reality is that fans and media are judging the team on outcomes. The NFL is a results-driven league, and playoff success or lack thereof ultimately shapes the narrative around leadership, even with a talented roster and moments of brilliance. If the team fails to consistently advance deep into the postseason, questions about coaching effectiveness are unavoidable. Harbaugh's tenure has been long and largely successful in the regular season. Yet the recurring theme of early playoff exits and missed opportunities has created an underlying tension. Ownership, specifically Steve Bisciotti, plays a critical role in this equation. as the decisions regarding the head coach will reflect the organization's broader priorities. Maintaining Harbaugh despite postseason shortcomings could signal tolerance for regular season success over championship results, while a change at the top would indicate a commitment to pushing the team further. This decision has implications not just for Harbaugh, but for the entire organizational culture. And it is something that fans, analysts, and insiders are watching closely. Looking at the on-field challenges, it's clear that the Ravens have the talent to compete. But the distribution and utilization of that talent have been uneven. Derrick Henry is a prime example. When he's on the field, defenses must account for his dominance, creating opportunities for other playmakers. But when he's off, those advantages are lost. Catton Mitchell has shown promise, yet expecting him to carry the same influence as Henry in high-stakes moments is unrealistic. This dynamic creates a scenario where strategy must adapt instantly, and when it doesn't, the team is vulnerable. The Patriots exploited that vulnerability, and the outcome was a collapse that has left fans, analysts, and even former players incredulous. The incident has sparked national conversation, but it's also a reflection of a systemic issue. The Ravens' approach to in-game adjustments, rotations, and situational awareness has been inconsistent over time. It's not isolated to one game or one season. It's a recurring pattern that continues to affect outcomes and shapes perceptions about leadership effectiveness beyond individual games. The broader playoff picture adds another layer of urgency. The Ravens' path to the postseason is precarious, and it requires not only winning but also relying on other results in the league. While mathematically still alive, the margin for error is minimal, and the decisions that have defined previous games now carry even more weight. Every drive, every snap, every choice becomes amplified when the stakes are this high, and the fans' frustration is rooted in the perception that the team hasn't consistently acted with the clarity and decisiveness required. This is compounded by the recurring pattern of underwhelming postseason performance, which has left the narrative of John Harbaugh's tenure being one of almost rather than achieved. The tension is not just in the locker room, but in the broader evaluation of the team's potential versus its realized performance. It's a pressure cooker scenario where every decision is scrutinized, and the Ravens fan base is acutely aware of the fine line between success and disappointment. Before we dive in, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Your support keeps us bringing you the latest news on the Baltimore Ravens, and hey, drop your take in the comments below. We want to hear from the flock. Shockwaves are reportedly rippling through the Baltimore Ravens locker room as whispers of disciplinary action have emerged, leaving fans and analysts speculating wildly about the team's internal dynamics. Sources close to the organization claim that head coach John Harbaugh, known for his no-nonsense approach and unwavering demand for accountability, has made the startling decision to bench a key starter due to alleged insubordination. The move comes just ahead of a highly anticipated clash with the New England Patriots, a game that many expected to feature the Ravens at full strength. Harbaugh's reputation as a disciplinarian is well established. Throughout his tenure, he has demonstrated a willingness to make tough choices, prioritizing team culture and standards over individual talent. Yet, even by Harbaugh's exacting standards, this development is raising eyebrows. Industry insiders suggest that the incident may involve repeated violations of team rules or a particularly serious breach of conduct. Though specific details remain murky, the uncertainty has fueled intense speculation across social media and sports networks, with fans eagerly dissecting every statement and gesture from the team in search of clues. Analysts are already debating the potential ripple effects of such a decision. Some argue that sidelining a top performer could galvanize the squad, sending a clear message about accountability and discipline. Others fear it could disrupt team chemistry at a critical juncture, especially against a formidable Patriots defense that thrives on exploiting vulnerabilities. The timing of the move only adds fuel to the rumor mill, leading many to question whether there are deeper tensions behind the scenes or if Harbaugh is simply enforcing his well-known principles with precision. Meanwhile, fantasy football enthusiasts and betting circles are scrambling to adjust their projections, trying to anticipate how the absence of a key contributor might reshape offensive and defensive strategies. Coaches and commentators are weighing the possible replacements and tactical adjustments, but the Ravens have remained tight-lipped, intensifying the air of mystery. Whatever the case, this episode reinforces John Harbaugh's image as a coach who will not tolerate indiscipline, regardless of a player's stature or importance to the team. In the world of professional football, where talent often clashes with temperament. The Ravens' latest move serves as a vivid reminder that rules and respect within the locker room remain non-negotiable even if it means shaking up the lineup ahead of a marquee matchup. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay in the loop with exclusive news on our Baltimore Ravens, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. We'd love to hear what the flock thinks. Drop your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next one.